Welcome back to CIA Declassified, the broadcast dedicated to dissecting the classified documents that reveal how intelligence agencies prepare for scenarios that border on the apocalyptic. Today, we abandon the physics of the universe and turn our focus to the physics of immunology and defense. We address the chilling fact that U.S. intelligence explored the possibility of creating an invisible, wide-area biological shield, a defensive perimeter, made of air and microscopic neutralizing agents to counter the threat of mass casualty biological attacks. We are analyzing the CIA's involvement in aerosolized antigen blockers and mass biological interception, treating a geographic region not as a population to be evacuated, but as a zone to be instantaneously sterilized against specific airborne threats. Our primary evidence is the declassified file CIA-RDP84-01004R000100020006-7. This critical report is titled, and I quote, "The Strategic Use of Mass Biological Interception," end quote. It confirms that biodefense and engineering resources were tasked with evaluating the feasibility of synthesizing and deploying a targeted non-toxic aerosol capable of binding to and neutralizing airborne pathogens like anthrax or weaponized viruses, while posing minimal risk to the human host breathing the same air. The context here is immediate high-density protection. Traditional biological defense is slow, requiring vaccination, isolation, or decontamination after exposure. The goal of this program was to provide an instantaneous preemptive defense that could be activated over a city or military base the moment an attack was detected, neutralizing the threat mid-air. The file's existence confirms that the agency viewed atmospheric dispersion techniques in technology not just as an offensive weapon platform, but also as a high-stakes defensive necessity. The analysis focuses on two primary areas: aerosol dispersal challenges for wide area coverage and antigen blocker specificity for safe and effective neutralization. Let's drill down into the rigorous and highly complex methodology documented in this file. The analysts demanded a precise mechanism for delivering microscopic immunity. The file required an intense focus on antigen blocker chemistry. The research centered on creating non-replicating synthetic molecules, antigen blockers, that would float in the air and chemically bond to the external protein shell of a targeted pathogen. The binding action would render the pathogen incapable of attaching to and entering human host cells, effectively making it inert. This process had to be instantaneous upon contact. The key challenge was safe mass dispersion. Deploying any substance over a civilian population carries catastrophic risk. The document outlines conceptual systems for precision aerosol delivery, utilizing specialized high-altitude dispersion aircraft or covert ground-based releases to ensure the compound reaches the affected area rapidly and uniformly. The document includes conceptual specifications for establishing neutralization efficiency rates, the percentage of airborne pathogens rendered inert by the aerosolized compound within a defined cubic meter of air. This confirms the research was purely focused on maximizing the destruction of the threat. The visual illustrates the goal of the mass interception concept. Crucially, the file dedicated an entire section to non-toxic host compatibility. The neutralizing agent had to be inert upon inhalation, passing harmlessly through the human respiratory and digestive systems. The ethical and operational requirement was that the defense mechanism must not become a secondary biological threat itself. We must now examine the primary finding, the agency's assessment of the program's feasibility. This is a critical quote. Feasibility studies confirm that the molecular complexity of several high-priority biological threat agents permits the design of a targeted, temporary antagonist compound which can be safely delivered via aerosol, achieving a neutralization field within redacted minutes of deployment. Quote number 2 from a section discussing strategic deployment, quote, "The successful development of this wide area defense capability eliminates the strategic utility of redacted class biological weapons, returning the operational calculus to conventional defense," end quote. This is the true meaning of the file. It states that massive biological attacks can be countered by an invisible, rapid, engineered response. The agency saw an opportunity to develop an instantaneous, proactive defense that cancels out the element of surprise inherent in biowarfare. The focus shifted from how do we treat the infected to how do we make the infection impossible. We now address the chilling operational implications of this file, the deployment of the aerosolized shield and strategic defense. The most extensive redactions occur in the section titled Weather and Atmospheric Modeling for Dispersal and Legal and International Treaty Compliance. This suggests detailed discussions around modeling wind patterns and atmospheric conditions to predict the compound's drift, and the complex legal justifications required to deploy chemical compounds over sovereign territory, even if defensively. Why redact international treaty compliance? Because the deployment of wide-area chemical biological compounds, regardless of intent, risks violating existing armed control treaties and international norms regarding chemical and biological weapons. The concept discussed is the creation of a non-infectious zone. The system allows a nation to protect key urban centers or military infrastructure against a specific biological attack with the push of a button, creating an invisible temporary biological clean room over the target area. The file details the requirement for specialized environmental monitoring and rapid pathogen identification systems. The shield is only effective if the attack is detected and the correct pathogen-specific neutralizing agent is deployed instantly. The strategic weaponization of this research is clear. It is a mass interception weapon that fundamentally changes the calculus of non-conventional conflict. A state possessing this capability gains the ability to field an immediate invisible biological countermeasure, rendering enemy pathogen stockpiles strategically impotent. We conclude our analysis of this file. The existence and scope of the research confirm that U.S. intelligence treated the development of wide-area remote biological defense as an actionable, high-priority strategic objective. The implication is that the analysis moved into the sphere of applied molecular defense, seeking to exploit the chemistry of life itself to neutralize threats before they can take root. This research represents the ultimate weaponization of microbiology in the name of defense. If this documented truth has opened your mind to the technological boundaries explored by those in power, we require your continued support. First, like this episode and leave us a detailed 5-star review wherever you listen. This is how the analysis exposes the deeper scientific agendas. Second, share this episode with someone obsessed with diseases, biosafety, or large-scale atmospheric chemistry. We need more sharp minds analyzing these documented facts. Next, we move from the defense of the atmosphere to the destabilization of the earth beneath our feet. We will analyze the CIA's classified research into seismic manipulation and covert geophysical warfare. If you're wondering what does that mean, that means our government was trying to figure out how to cause earthquakes wherever they would like. The agency's attempt to develop non-conventional technology for remotely influencing localized geological stability and potentially inducing seismic events. For our next investigation, we're looking at CIA document RDP80-00921R000100020006, a chilling file concerning geological resonance and tactical earthquake induction. What were the theoretical methods for achieving localized resonant energy injection into fault lines? How did the analysts propose differentiating naturally occurring seismic shifts from those induced by tactical energy weapons? And what does this reveal about the terrifying strategic goal of turning the planet's tectonic plate movements into a weapon? Tune in for our next episode on seismic warfare and induced earthquakes. Until then, remember, maintain your vigilance, question the air you breathe, and keep your critical thinking sharp. I'll see you in the archives.